So, and when you talk about Portland, on the subject of energy and land use and transportation, I think sometimes there's this myth that we've always gotten it right, and that's not the case. Now, I think it's certainly the case now that after many years of effort, that we do have a virtuous circle of policy and practice and culture going. It was certainly not always that way. In fact, when I moved to Portland in 1979, we were in an era where we had about 180 days a year of violating the federal air quality standard. In the city that's now rightly held up to be an environmental model. So the point of that is that we deliberately changed rather than just got lucky. We had some dumb luck. It has been at work in Portland's success story, like our small block sizes. But a lot of this has been deliberate effort over a long time. And some of that, was local, and some of that was from the state. We had a Republican governor, a Republican legislature that in the 1970s passed Senate Bill 100, the path-breaking land use planning law that, again, has been foundational for a lot of the rest of this work. We also have been serious about planning in Portland for a long time. This is the 1972 downtown plan. To an extent, we're still following that framework or armature of where the transit system lies in the central city and how it works. We've also made some dramatic changes in the cityscape that have reinforced, again, that combination of policy and culture that people expect us to do these kinds of things. The famous removal of the Harbor Drive freeway in downtown Portland and its replacement with Waterfront Park. The creation of Pioneer Courthouse Square on the site of a really ugly two-story parking garage in downtown Portland. Those are pretty iconic. And then more recently, the creation of the Pearl District in what was Hoyt Street Yards, a rail yard on the north end of downtown Portland. So this, again, you're going to hear me talk about all three, I think, of the key elements in energy efficiency in the city: urban design, transportation, and buildings. You've got to get all three right in order to have, I think, significant success as we've had. And so again, here's just a compendium of some of those policies over a very long period, some of which are now getting re-upped and revised. We're in the process of revising our comp plan now, revising our climate plan again. So these are now part of our institutional framework in Portland. And 20 years of specific work on climate action plan. I was on the city council back in the early 1990s, and we started this work then. And this is really paying dividends for us now. If you look at this trend, we're pretty proud of this. That we had a 30% reduction in per capita carbon emissions and a 10% reduction overall, despite having very robust population growth during this time period. So, this is the result of a whole bunch of these policies and practices and investments synergizing each other rather than having one thing that was a eureka change agent for that kind of performance. But we're very proud of the performance, but we know, again, that we won't stay below the 100% line, or better yet, keep falling without even more bold actions in the future. Transportation in particular. If you get the urban design right and you get the transportation right, you avoid gigantic energy consumption. Portlanders burn about $1 billion less in gasoline than their numerical equivalents in other American cities. That's in part because of the great transit system, but it's also in part because you don't have to use it to get a lot of places. So again, the combination of urban design and transit is pretty important. Project I'm particularly proud of, I led the creation of the Portland streetcar, which is now being replicated all over the country, and really supported that urban design and that trip behavior in the Pearl District that helps us achieve those energy goals. On a regional basis, we keep expanding our light rail system. There's a project under construction now to the southeast part of the metropolitan area. Mayor Doyle's here from Beaverton. This is a regional effort that has gone on for a long time. And again, we work the transit front on both the local scale with the Portland streetcar and the regional scale with the TriMet system, particularly the rail program of both commuter rail on the west side and light rail throughout the region, and it's really paying dividends for us now. On the building front, we created this program called Clean Energy Works that actually helps residents finance energy upgrades to their homes. It upgrades about 1,500 homes a year, and it's a great program. You pay it off on your utility bill. We've also weatherized about 48,000 apartment units. On the city facilities side, we generate electricity with solar panels on our buildings. We're getting just added into the Southwest Community Center. We're getting ready to put them on a school. We're systematically using those rooftops. We're using hydro generation not only off of our reservoirs, but actually off of local water tanks, and now even of the conduits using the lucent energy technology in pipe generation. We of course use biogas at the wastewater plant. So we're using all those standard practices of trying to be efficient and generate power in our own facilities. The latest initiative, I know a number of cities in the room are probably involved in this, switching out our sodium vapor lights for LEDs. I think what's the total number? I think we've got 50,000 street lights that we're in the process of changing out. So that's going to have a pretty impressive performance change in terms of how much electrical energy we're using for street lighting. Partnership is really important. We have a long tradition of public-private partnerships in Portland. The Pearl District is a great example of that. I sometimes joke that developers in other cities would get up in the morning and throw open the curtains and look out over the town and say, how do I get around City Hall and make some money? In Portland, for some reason, they get up in the morning and throw open the curtains and look out over the city and say, how do I make money? By implementing the city's plans. Our developers are not actually different. It's that we have made our plans and policies work to synergize things that they can actually do. So the brewery blocks and the rest of the development of the Pearl District is not only cool and energy efficient, but this particular project hit the highest price point of any real estate in the city of Portland. The condos in the Pearl District, despite the real estate downturn, have held their value, and now people are building condos there again. So we've made this work for our private sector partners. And, we want people to get wealthy by doing the right thing, and some of them have, and we want more of them to do that. Another case of this kind of public-private partnership approach is also a community partnership, the Solarize Portland effort that actually started at the neighborhood level. Group purchasing of solar panels has now become institutionalized, and is a big part of what's happening in terms of photovoltaic installations across the city. So that community partnership that we were talking about earlier with respect to poverty programs works in energy as well. About 600 homes each year are doing Solarize programs now, so that's pretty important piece of the picture. Again, we're continuing to make major investments. The Federal Transit Administration has been a great partner for us. We've proven to be a good investment over and over again, and we're now building the Orange Line to the southeast part of the metropolitan area. And I think the coolest thing about it is this new bridge, which we're struggling to name, by the way. We're having this big debate about how to name the new bridge. That's a great problem to have. But this bridge will carry light rail, streetcar, bicycles, pedestrians, buses, but no cars. And it may be a first, it's certainly a first for us. And it's also a beautiful bridge, so we're pretty excited about it. It doesn't actually look like this yet. There's a gap in the middle between the two towers where they're working their way out over the river. It's very dramatic and fun to watch, but it's going to be an important symbol of our transit system and our commitment to non-automobile transportation. Some other next steps, we're going to try to make sure that our comp plan moves us even more aggressively in the direction that we want to go. This map shows the walkability of Portland. Yellow is good and dark purple is bad in terms of walkability. So it's a heat map based on the walk isochron applied to the landscape. And some of this is, again, done a lot. Geography, old block structure, the existence of streetcar neighborhood, main streets that we have reinforced as main streets. the hard part for us and for a lot of cities is how do you create walkable urbanism in what was the suburban edge of the city, where the county designed the roadways, the real estate market designed the strip malls, and the streets don't connect. I think we all have territory like this within our city limits. Ours is particularly acute in the eastern part of the city. It was annexed about 20 years ago when I was first involved in city government. So we're now trying to figure those tools out and start applying them. And it's difficult work, and I think for all of us engaged in cities and city planning, this is the challenge of our time, is how do you create walkable urbanism out of suburban development that was driven by completely different ideas, or in some cases not really any ideas at all. So we think this is an important piece of work. We think having the ACEEE conducting this free-for-all in which we compete with each other with these best practices is a great idea. We have some important work to do ahead. I know there's some here in the room that are already doing commercial benchmarking, working hard at that issue. We think, as the ACEEE pointed out, that's an opportunity area for us as a city to up our game. We're going to try to make this comp plan a big success in terms of that issue of walkability and efficient lifestyles in an area where now people are very auto dependent. And we're going to keep looking for partnerships like Solarize Portland or the next real estate redevelopment opportunity to build the fabric that makes this kind of energy performance possible. Thanks very much.